I worked the night shift at a desert motel. Now I know why it was always empty. I never thought I'd end up in a place like Dry Mesa, a flat, wind-burned stretch of desert somewhere between nowhere and nothing. I only took the job because my last one fell through, and I couldn't keep crashing at my sister's place forever. When I saw the listing for Night Clerk Desert View Motel, I didn't care that the ad looked like it had been typed on a typewriter. They said it paid cash weekly, and that was enough for me. The manager's name was Mr. Harlan. When I showed up for the interview, the office was dark, except for a single buzzing fluorescent light. Harlan sat behind the counter like a shadow that had learned to smoke. He was one of those thin men who always looks half-dissolved, too pale for the desert, with those translucent eyelashes that make a man look blind. "Quiet place," he told me. "Most folks just pass through." He said it like a warning. The motel. The Desert View Motel had 12 rooms, all one story, lined in a row like crooked teeth. There was a faded pool out back filled with sand, a flickering sign that only spelled DESRV Motel, and a vending machine that hadn't worked since the Clinton administration. My job was simple. Stay up all night, keep the lights on, check in any late travelers, call the sheriff if there was trouble. But Harlan gave me one extra rule before he left that first night. He said it in a voice that didn't match his face, softer, almost rehearsed. "If anyone comes asking about room 8, you tell them it's closed for maintenance. Doesn't matter who they are, you don't let them in. You understand?" I nodded. He stared at me for a long time before handing over the keys. "Good," he said. "See you Monday." First night. The first night was nothing, just a stretch of empty highway, a slow-moving clock, and the sound of wind scraping against the glass door. Around midnight, a car stopped by. A man in denim jacket stepped out, maybe mid-30s, with sunburned skin and hands that wouldn't stop fidgeting. "You got a room?" he asked. "Sure," I said. "Single or double?" "Doesn't matter. Just not room 8. I blinked. "How do you—" He looked past me toward the dark hallway of keys hanging on the wall, then back at me. "Forget it," he muttered. "Give me anything else." I handed him room 6. He paid cash and left without another word. When I looked out through the dusty glass, I saw him park as far away from room 8 as he could, 2 doors down, almost off the property. He left his car running for a long time before he finally killed the engine. The silence. Dry Mesa was the kind of silence that pressed against your skull. No crickets, no faraway dogs, just the dry hum of desert air. Every sound carried. When the ice machine groaned, it sounded like it was right next to me. At 2:13 a.m., I heard a door creak open. I looked up at the monitor, one of those old CRT screens that looped between static and grainy security footage. There wasn't much to see, just the dark shapes of the rooms under the harsh sodium lights. But I could have sworn I saw movement near room 8. Something like a shadow sliding across the concrete. Too fast for a person, too low. I went outside with the flashlight, trying to tell myself it was nothing, a stray cat, a trick of the light. The desert smelled like hot dust and rusted metal. My boots scuffed over the cracked walkway as I moved past each door. 4, 5, 6. The flashlight beam caught on the doorknob of room 8. It was shaking, gently, as if someone inside was turning it, testing it. "Hello?" I said. My voice cracked. The knob stopped. I backed away slow, every part of me screaming, "Don't open it." When I turned to leave, I noticed something else. All the other doors had dust piled up at their thresholds, but room 8's threshold was clean, swept like someone had been in or out recently. That was enough for me. I locked the office door and didn't move again until sunrise. The morning after. When Harlan came back, I told him what happened. He didn't look surprised, didn't even look at me, just went about counting the register, same as always. Then he said, "That's why I told you not to open it." He finally looked up, and there was something in his eyes I couldn't name. Not fear, not anger, more like shame. "I don't want to know?" I asked. He shook his head. "You don't. Trust me, kid. It's better when you don't." That should have been the end of it. But that night, as the sun died behind the mesas and the red sky turned to bruised purple, I noticed something new. Room 8's light was on. I stared through the dusty blinds for a long time, thinking maybe my eyes were playing tricks. But no, that light was definitely on. Room 8 had been dark since I'd arrived. Even during the day, the curtains stayed drawn like the room itself didn't want to be seen. Now, a warm, amber glow pulsed from behind those curtains. It shouldn't have bothered me so much, but it did. The light made me feel watched, like whoever or whatever was inside that room had been waiting for me to notice. I told myself I wasn't going to check. I'd learned from the first night. But curiosity is a disease that spreads fast in an empty place. By 2 a.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed the master key ring from the drawer, the heavy one with all 12 brass tags, and stepped out into the night. The door. The desert was unnervingly still. Even the wind had stopped, leaving only the soft hum of the motel sign and the dry crunch of my boots on the gravel. Each room I passed, 4, 5, 6, felt like an echo chamber of emptiness. The air seemed heavier the closer I got to room 8. The light under the door flickered faintly, like a candle struggling to stay alive. When I stopped in front of it, the smell hit me first. Not rot exactly, but something metallic, like rain on iron or an old radiator that burned too long. I reached for the doorknob. It was warm. My hand froze there, heart hammering. That's when I noticed something scratched into the paint near the handle. Words etched with something sharp. She checked out. I stepped back, my breath clouded in the cold desert air. I don't remember deciding to leave, but suddenly I was back inside the office, locking the door behind me like a child hiding under the covers. The ledger. When my pulse finally slowed, I sat behind the counter, staring at the motel's old guest book. It was one of those thick, leather-bound ledgers where names and dates had been handwritten for decades. Most of the pages were filled with dust and faded ink until I flipped to the middle and found something strange. Room 8 had its own pattern. Someone had checked in every 3 nights for almost 2 months. The same name, the same shaky handwriting. Marie Keller. No address, no phone number, just the date and a looping signature that seemed to fade a little more with each entry. And then one line stopped halfway through the word Marie, as if the pen had been pulled away mid-stroke. That date was exactly 3 weeks before I started the job. The knock. At 3:12 a.m., someone knocked on the office door. 3 times. Slow, deliberate. I froze. No cars had pulled in. No lights were on outside except the one in room 8. Another knock. Louder. "Front desk," I called out, trying to sound steady. "Can I help you?" Silence. Then, faintly, from the other side of the glass, "You already did." The voice was female, low, soft, almost hoarse. Something about it made my hairs on my arms stand up. I reached for the flashlight, but before I could turn it on, I saw the outline of a face through the glass, just for a second, lit by the neon Motel sign. It was a woman, mid-30s maybe. Her face was pale, her hair wet, and her eyes looked like they'd been awake for years. Then she was gone. When I stepped outside, the parking lot was empty, but room 8's door was wide open. Inside room 8. I don't know what made me go in. Maybe I just wanted proof that I wasn't losing my mind. The door creaked as I pushed it open, the hinges sighing like they hadn't been used in ages. The air inside was cold. Not cool, cold, like a walk-in freezer. The light I'd seen from the window came from an old lamp on the nightstand. Its bulb hummed weakly, the cord frayed where it met the wall. The bed was made, the blankets crisp and untouched. But the carpet was wet. I knelt down and pressed my fingers to it. The water was ice cold. I followed the trail. It led from the bathroom door straight to the window. And that's when I noticed the sound. Dip, dip, dip. I turned toward the bathroom. The door was half open. The mirror cracked. Inside, the sink faucet was dripping steadily into a basin filled with cloudy water. Above it hung a plastic "Do Not Disturb" sign, broken, snapped in half like someone had tried to rip it off in a hurry. And scrawled across the mirror, in something that looked like lipstick but smelled like rust, were 4 words. "I checked out too." I stumbled backward, heart in my throat, and nearly tripped over something at the foot of the bed. A suitcase. Old, leather, the kind with brass corners. The name tag read, Marie Keller. When I unlatched it, the smell of salt water and mildew spilled out. Inside were clothes, soaked as if they'd just come out of the ocean. At the very bottom, beneath a tangle of fabric, I found a wallet. Inside was a driver's license, half dissolved. Marie Keller, age 34. Deceased. The issue date was 2 years ago. The expiration date was crossed out in pen. The sound beneath the floor. As I stood there shaking, the lamp flickered. Once, twice, then went out completely. The darkness was instant, thick, suffocating. And in that silence, I heard it. A faint, rhythmic tapping coming from under the floorboards. Not like pipes or animals, too precise, too human. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more. Pause. And then right beneath my feet, a whisper, faint, muffled, but unmistakable. "You already checked in." When the whisper faded, the only sound left was my heartbeat hammering inside my skull. I bolted out of room 8 and didn't stop until I was back in the office, locking every door, closing every blind, turning every light on. The clock on the wall said 3:48 a.m. I sat there staring at the monitors, waiting for something, movement, sound, a sign of life, but all I saw was static and the faint glow from room 8's open door. No one came out, no one went in. Just that door, swaying gently in the wind. Harlan's return. When Mr. Harlan arrived the next morning, I was still awake. He looked at me once, at my pale face, my shaking hands, and sighed like a man who'd already guessed why. "You went in there, didn't you?" I didn't answer. He didn't need one. He rubbed his temples. "You shouldn't have done that." I slammed the ledger down on a counter. "Who the hell is Marie Keller?" He froze. For a second, I saw real fear flicker in his eyes. Then he looked away. Marie was someone who stayed here a long time ago. That's all you need to know. That's not good enough, Harlan. He leaned on the counter, his fingers twitching. You think you found something new? You think you're the first one curious enough to dig through that ledger? Son, this place has been dying longer than you've been alive. He told me to drop it. Said it wasn't my business. Said if I wanted to keep my paycheck, I'd leave room 8 locked and never mention her name again. Then he handed me my week's pay in cash and walked out before I could argue. But that night, I couldn't stop thinking about what he'd said, or what he hadn't. The file. The motel's office had a filing cabinet, a dented, rusted thing under the counter. I'd never paid it any attention before. But when I tried the drawers, one of them slid open halfway before catching on something. Inside were decades of receipts, old guest forms, and yellowed memos. The papers smelled like dust and nicotine. I dug until I found a thin manila folder labeled INCDENT-R8. There were only 3 pages inside. The first was a police report dated June 3, 1998. Deceased female located in bathtub, room 8, Desert View Motel. Cause, drowning. No sign of forced entry. The second page was a short statement from a former employee, the clerk on duty that night. His handwriting was shaky, almost illegible. She came to the desk asking for towels. Said she was hearing water running even when the faucet was off. Later that night, I heard her singing. Next morning, she was gone. The third page was a photograph. Black and white, grainy, water-stained. It showed the bathroom in room 8. The tub was half full of dark water, the surface rippling like something just beneath it was about to surface. The basement. That was the moment I realized something didn't fit. The floor plan hanging behind the counter, the one from the 1970s, showed a small utility room beneath the main building, a basement. But there was no door to it anywhere in the office. At least, not anymore. I went outside, flashlight in hand, circling the back of the motel where the ground dipped behind room 8. The sand there was looser, like it had been disturbed. I brushed away debris and found a square outline in the dirt. A trap door. Rusted hinges, padlocked shut. The lock was old enough that it gave way after a few solid hits with the tire iron I kept by the generator shed. The door creaked open, releasing a breath of air so cold it fogged the lens of my flashlight. A wooden ladder led down into darkness. I stood there for a long moment, telling myself I'd go get help, call someone, anyone, but I already knew I wouldn't. Because somewhere beneath that silence, I could hear it again. Drip, drip, drip. Underground. The ladder led into a narrow concrete corridor, walls sweating moisture. The air smelled like metal and salt. The beam of my flashlight shook as I aimed it forward, not from fear, I told myself, but from the cold. At the end of the corridor, I found a door. It was newer than the rest of the place, metal instead of wood, with a small window set into it. I wiped away the grime and peered through. The flashlight hit tiled walls, a drain, a rusted tub, the same layout as room 8, perfectly mirrored, but below ground. I tried the handle. It turned easily. Inside, everything was wrong. The ceiling dripped condensation. A single light bulb swung gently above the tub, casting long shadows that looked like veins crawling across the floor. The tub itself was filled halfway with cloudy water, and floating on the surface, I swear to God, was a bar of soap moving slowly as if pushed by an unseen hand. That's when I saw the writing scratched into the tile walls above the tub. She won't leave. The faucet suddenly burst to life, spraying ice-cold water. My flashlight flickered, and for a second I saw a shape in the reflection. A pale face just beneath the surface, hair fanning out like seaweed. I dropped the light. When I grabbed it again, the water was still. Empty. The smell of salt. I climbed out of that hole so fast I barely remember my feet touching the ladder rungs. By the time I got back to the surface, the horizon was turning gray. The motel looked different in the dawn. Smaller, fragile, like something that had been abandoned for decades. But there was one new thing. A wet trail across the concrete walkway leading from the back of the motel straight to the office door. Inside, the air reeked of salt water. The ledger was open again, flipped to a fresh page. A new entry written in that same looping hand. Room 8, Marie Keller, 2 guests. I stared at it for a long time before realizing what that meant. 2 guests, not 1. That night, I didn't show up for my shift. I drove as far as my gas tank could take me and checked into a chain motel off the interstate. But when I woke the next morning, there was a damp motel key on the nightstand beside me. The tag was faded, but I could still read the number. 8.
I didn't go back for 3 days. I told myself I'd start fresh somewhere else, maybe head west toward California, pick up work at another motel, one that didn't smell like salt or secrets. But when I hit the highway that 3rd morning, something strange happened. The road signs didn't make sense. Everyone I passed pointed back toward Dry Mesa. I'd drive 20, 30 miles, see a green sign that said Exit 24, Desert View Motel, even though I was sure I'd left that place behind hours ago. By sunset, I realized I was circling the same stretch of desert. The sky turned bruised purple, the mesas like black teeth on the horizon, and I knew, or maybe just accepted, that I wasn't leaving until it was finished. So I turned the car around and drove back. The return. The neon sign was still flickering when I pulled up. Des V Mol. The office lights were on, but Harlan's car wasn't there. Only one room had its light glowing through the curtains. Room 8. When I stepped out of the car, the ground squelched under my boots. Wet, even though the desert hadn't seen rain in months. I followed the damp footprints leading from the parking lot to the office door. Inside, everything was exactly as I'd left it, except the ledger. It was open again, waiting, and beneath the last entry, Room 8, Marie Keller, 2 guests, a new line had appeared in the same blue ink. Clerk, checked in. The basement again. The trapdoor behind the motel was already open when I found it. The padlock lay in the sand, twisted apart like soft metal. The air that rose from the darkness smelled like brine. Somewhere below I could hear the faint hiss of running water. I climbed down. This time the corridor lights were on, flickering fluorescents that shouldn't have had power. The door at the end was open, and from inside came a faint sound, like a woman humming under her breath. "Marie?" I asked. The humming stopped. Then a voice said, "You came back." The woman in the water. She was standing by the tub. Her back was to me, hair long and black and dripping, the same pale skin I'd seen in the reflection days ago. "Who are you?" I asked. When she turned, her face wasn't what I expected. Not monstrous, not decayed, just human, sad. "I was the first," she said. Her voice sounded like it came from somewhere deep underwater. "Harlan promised me a place to rest, but it's never quiet here." Her eyes moved past me, toward the ceiling, toward the motel above us. "The walls remember," she whispered. "Every scream, every lie." I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. My legs felt heavy, rooted to the damp floor. She said, "The others come. They all come back. You will too." "I'm not staying," I said. She smiled, not cruelly, but like she pitied me. "You already are." The humming returned, faint at first, then louder, until it filled the room. The water in the tub began to ripple, and then I saw him. Harlan. He was standing on the other side of the tub, pale under the swinging bulb, his shirt soaked through. "You shouldn't have come back, kid," he said quietly. "You open the door. Once you open it, you belong here." "What is this place?" I asked. "It's a trade. Someone has to watch her. Someone has to keep the door shut. The desert doesn't like to be empty." I stared at him, shaking my head. "You mean you're stuck here too?" He looked down at his hands. They were trembling, the skin waterlogged and gray. "I was the clerk before you." Then the lights flickered and went out. In the dark, I heard the water rise. I stumbled backward, splashing into it, the tub overflowing, spilling across the floor. It was ice cold, burning cold. A hand grabbed my wrist, small, strong, pulling me down. "Stay," she whispered. "It's quieter down here." I screamed, kicked, tore free, and the next thing I remember is sunlight hitting my eyes. The morning after. I was lying outside, half buried in sand behind the motel. The trapdoor was gone. Just flat earth. No hole, no hinges, nothing. The office was empty. The rooms were empty. No lights, no sound, no sign of life. But on the front desk sat the ledger, clean and dry. The last page had only one line. Room 8, occupied. And below it, in smaller handwriting, night clerk, my name. Aftermath. I left again that morning. This time the highway let me go. The signs made sense. The world was right again. Or it looked that way. I got a new job. Another motel, another small town, nothing special. But sometimes when the night's quiet enough, I still hear it. A faint humming through the walls like a woman singing from behind a closed door. And sometimes when I'm half asleep at the desk, I see water dripping from the ceiling tiles. The guests never notice. They just sleep, dream, move on. But I know what it means. It means the desert's calling again. It means there's a vacancy. It means the light never reaches room 8.